Athletor again. Zach Rey, how are you, sir? Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
All right. So, we have a lot of college coaches on the program. And when we do, we've found that each institution kind of has its own problems with recruiting. And when I say problems, like hurdles, right?
Challenges.
Hurdles with recruiting, hurdles with getting kids into the school in general.
Yep.
Something tells me Lehigh University is no different in that regard. What
Uh,
um
yeah.
what do people not know about trying to get into Lehigh University, especially as a wrestler?
All right. So I don't too often or like to talk in this regard. Like I don't like to spit too much negativity or,
Right.
not great light things. But Lehigh is, a very challenging school to get into for many reasons. Academically, it's, not quite Princeton and Harvard, but it has some of the same academic standards as some of the lower Ivy League schools and, some very elite schools where you have to almost have perfect scores to get in. And then,
Yeah.
when you do get in, then, you have to pay the school costs about $83,000 a year. So,
Right.
and then so the challenge of getting in, it's only about 5,000 students. So it's very special. And it has its challenges.
For sure. But now what does that do to okay. It's and like maybe this is the optimist in me, right? That almost kind of goes, all right, here's the kind of kid we're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it
Yep,
narrows down
it does.
the pool at which you can even make phone calls to, right?
Absolutely.
So tell me about what that type of kid looks like
Yeah.
and how he comes onto your desk.
Okay. So our niche, in the first contact, or if fortunately we have a contact with that athletes or student athletes, schools, guidance counselor, we just reach out, get a transcript is, one of the first contacts we do. Uh, and we get a transcript. That transcript says, 2 point something. Most of the times you're done right there, unless we get you early enough in your junior year or bump you, earlier and get you to get that changed. I was one of those 2 pointers where, John Trench, my current coach, he got me to get straight A's the next 2 years. So that can happen, but typically if we see a 2 point something, it's really challenging. Um,
Yeah.
then, you go into the finance section, and obviously all of us, our colleges, universities, we only have 9.9 scholarships. And when you're trying to make 9.9 scholarships work for about 40, 45 athletes, when the school costs, 80 plus $1,000, you can't really just nickel and dime. You can't just spread 20%, 10%, because people, especially, the best recruits,
That's not putting much of a dent in it, is it?
no, it's not. But what's been fortunate for us, here's the good part. Recently, we've been allowed to start stacking. And so the past couple of recruiting classes, we've been able to get them a financial aid package and then put 20, 30, 40% to fill them up. So those higher level recruits who are, looking for that full ride, free college, it's easier. But prior to these, past 2 years change, we've had to, it's either we try to get that 60% financial aid package, or, we're spending a whole scholarship. So what's been amazing in these past two recruiting classes, we've been able to mix scholarship and financial aid together. So we've been very fortunate to make it very affordable for a lot of recruits.
So here's the thing that I think I think most of this country knows. I could be wrong. Lehigh University is a wrestling school. Like that's a
Yes, sir.
wrestling school.
Yes, sir.
The fact that you've only been able to stack financial aid on top of athletic scholarship for the last 2 years seems like a little bit of a head scratcher to me. Was that something that you weren't sure, like you weren't aware of when you took the job?
Well, no. So you're right to when I took the job, I wasn't thinking in that type of light.
Sure.
You
No,
know,
no one does.
all
I just want to
right.
coach wrestling.
Exactly. Me, I just tackle people, and then, Coach Santoro, puts me on staff, and then I'm like, all right. And then you learn about the ins and outs and the negatives and the things that make your job easy. And the staff here, Brad, Dylan, Pat, they had a million emails back and forth, and eventually got stacking approved, after the NCAA allowed it. And you are right. This is 100% a wrestling school. I think we are the one and only, and there could be a couple others, but we are a school where wrestling is the number one sport on campus, and that's fact. We've had 28 national champs. We have a great tradition of wrestling here. But, board members, presidents, although wrestling is very important here, you don't always get everything you want. But
Sure.
we've made some progress.
Yeah, so it's tricky, right? It's tricky because I'm gonna bring up a Big Ten team that maybe isn't winning every national title. Illinois. Yeah. Let's call it Illinois.
Okay.
When Poeta walks into his administration,
mm-hmm.
I think that sometimes he probably has even more leverage than Coach Santoro might at Lehigh, even though Illinois' wrestling program isn't the number one thing on campus. And what happens, and I think that has a lot to do with a lot of things. Number one, EIWA is very different than the Big Ten. And again, I don't think that people realize just how starkly different just the conference can make it. Like this is an academic driven conference, right? I mean, it's just, absolutely, that's the way it is. The Ivies are in there, Lehigh. But a lot of the Big Ten is driven by sports, not just wrestling. Okay. And so how do you, you're as stark a competitor as anyone I've ever met, right? Like, I think we've competed in the sauna before, right? So it's like, how do you as a competitor go, no, we're not getting the same advantages as a Illinois. How do we compete with them?
You ask for a lot and get, a little bit. And then, when you're comfortable again, you send that email and try to get more. You are right. So Lehigh is an amazing academic institution to where, I think it's like, we're like, what was it? We were 15th in New York Times, best schools in America right now, and put out like top 12 mid-career salaries. So our school is, it's an academic school. It creates a lot of successful people. So, we go in and ask for this, but, the Big Ten, when they hand every, Illinois and all the schools $100 million a year just from being part of the Big Ten, we don't work with those budgets. You know what I mean? So we talked to our athletic director. He has to make everything work for all programs, basically using our money. Because we are, I heard you talking to Nickerson the other day about his program being cash flow positive. We are another one of those programs to where we actually fund other sports at Lehigh. So when we're asking for a lot, it's often the case there's just not the funds available.
There's only a certain finite amount of funds to go around, and you guys are generating.
And then even with here we go. One of my actual frustrations, I don't want to go too long on it, but at a school like Lehigh, even though we can raise $1 million to do whatever we want, there's also things in place that our athletic directors, it's not always fair for us just raise money, buy something when other sports don't have it. So like say we upgrade our hot tub, sauna, cold tub, we raise $200K real quick. It's like, well, we can't just give this to you because we have to have equality sometimes among sports. So even just raising the money. So there's some variables there.
I have been told horror stories, and I will leave the name of the institution out of it, but it rhymes with OU. And I collect a check for $100,000 and 60 is deposited.
Yep.
You go, what's the 40K? He's like, well, you got to give it to gymnastics.
Yep.
We do,
Yep.
like that makes things. And again, I think this is not to throw Lehigh or OU or whomever under the bus. This is like just to get people to understand the reality of these situations.
100%. And although that is one of my more recent frustrations, I get it. I have a great relationship with the athletic directors we work with, and they were my athletic directors when I was at Lehigh. I remember losing the EIWA, and my AD give me a talk to, and I won nationals. I have a great relationship with them. So I understand why it is, because we raise whatever, we have everything at our facility for other programs. Unfortunately, it's just in their eyes, it's not always fair, if we're not helping all sports grow. So although I don't love it, I understand why it's
Doesn't make it fun all the time. I hear that. So let me ask you this, though. Let me ask you this. Out of every 10 things that you ask for from the administration, how many of them are yeses and how many of them are no? So 50%?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. More recently, we've been hearing yes a whole lot when it comes to, new gear, additions to the facility, budgets. Like, it's adding a director of ops. Our whole facility just got a little, facelift. Lately, it's been more than 50%. But, I've been here since 2007. And up until really the past 2 years, it's a lot of no. But these past 2 years have been a lot of fun. And it could be, when you have more excitement, coming out of COVID, I started my coaching career pretty much when COVID was hitting off, and so maybe that's why in my mind, it could have been a lot of no, mainly due to COVID restrictions. But again, these past 2 years, it's been a lot of yeses, and it's really fun around here right now.
Yeah. Okay. But there's the roller coaster that becomes NCAA wrestling. It's everybody, right? Like, you guys have ups, you have downs. Do you think that it's the expectation now, because you're given the leeway to stack financial aid on top of athletic scholarships? Do you think that the administration has slightly higher expectations for you guys?
So I think I can confidently say, although they do want us to achieve, the most we can. Our school and the administrators here are great people, and they really value the right things, which is people, relationships. So as much as it's like, no, we should win more. They're not like that. They really just invest in people, and Lehigh takes care of Lehigh. So we have our losses, we get a hug. We win, we get a hug. It's so that's not always true with the fans and donors, but when it comes to the administration,
Fair enough.
Joe Starrett, no, he has our best interests always.
That's funny that you say that, because when I think of a Lehigh donor, a Lehigh fan, I think of a salty 65-year-old white-haired dude.
They come out for sure. They're there. They're there. They're there. And obviously,
I love how PC you've become over the last 4 years, Zach. Because if this was you and I in a sauna, there'd be a couple of choice words. And not that they're bad, they're good, but
they're
they hold your feet to the fire.
The Lehigh fan is educated. I mean, this is the capital of high school youth wrestling for a good amount of time, if not right now also. What other area in the country is there just high school wrestling dual meets on your cable? They know wrestling here. And so even if one of our guys, even me, I wouldn't do much sometimes, big heavy would stand in the middle, hit them for stalling, sometimes they get after you, hit them both for stalling. But you're right. We got some fans who've been coming out for 40 years straight, and you are right. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and you find out who some of your friends are sometimes, you know.
They get salty in the pit, dude. They
100%,
get
100%.
salty.
But I'll tell you what, they've been enjoying the show this year. They've been having a lot of fun this year.
Okay, so we're on a roller coaster. You're going up right
Yes.
now.
Yes, sir.
Define success at
Mhm.
at Easterns. Define success at the NCAA tournament for Lehigh University as it pertains to 2024.
Sure. So and to just step back before those two, success, in our last 8 duels, we've gone 7-1, just lost to Arizona State. We lost our first 3 duels, so puts us somewhere around like 7-4, 8-4, whatever that is. Success isn't wins and losses, as corny as it is. It's our guys getting better throughout the year. It's a true freshman ranked in the top 5. It's Nathan Taylor, valued, recruit who's all of a sudden, ranked in the top 8-ish. It's, Michael Beard-Klong back to where he belongs. It's our guys getting better with every outing, and not getting better just by winning, but showing skills have developed over the season. And that's what I'm actually excited about, not rankings or wins and losses. So now that we're going to the postseason, our success, Cornell's a great team, but winning the conference is definitely, achievable.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we've been one of 3 teams to bring all 10 to nationals in the past 5 or so years. So we like to bring our squad. We like to travel with our whole team to nationals. So I'd really love to bring 9 or 10 guys to nationals.
These are attainable things, by the way. These are attainable things.
100%, 100%.
You know,
And then, I really think we should have 4 champs, 4 or 5 champs. So that would be beautiful. And, you want every single thing to happen in wrestling. It is a roller coaster. It's where you have this big win, then a loss, and you love every one of your guys that go out there, and you can't have 10 champs all the time. It'd be nice. So, getting 9 or 10 to nationals, having 4 champs, coming out very healthy would be a success.
healthy. Yeah.
I'd rather get to nationals with healthy athletes and less champs than more champs and a couple guys with some MCL injuries. And then for the national tournament, I mean, what it's looking like right now, we have 5 guys who can place, and we have, a few guys who can be in the finals, and we have a couple guys who can win national title. The goal is always to have a national champ. We've had 28 of them. So it's, not, you got to win nationals. It's Lehigh wrestling. The plans to win nationals. That's what we tell our guys all the time. So coming out nationals with national champ and 3 or 4 other All-Americans would be a great tournament.
Yeah, that's a solid bar right there. Sorry.
How do you guys balance, you talked about the focus is getting better with each match and with each, competition, improving throughout the year. How do you guys balance that mindset of, focusing on growth with now you're into the postseason where there's
100%.
a bit of finality to what's happening, right? How do you kind of find that balance of still getting better, but now, where the rubber hits the road?
Sure. You get that balance from having a great relationship with the athletes you work with. And throughout the year, having so much communication that, one word can sometimes be enough for your athlete to understand what you're, explaining to them. But what we've always preached is the season's, for practice, for developing skills, getting better. The postseason, you get your hand raised, you go to the next round. You're trying to get off the mat as fast as possible, get your team bonus points, and get out of there. You're not doing, you're not working on your new tilt anymore. You're going out with your best stuff that you've developed over the year. You're getting your hand raised and getting to the next round.
What give me an example of an athlete that you have a relationship with where you can say just one word.
Absolutely. So obviously I closely work with the upperweight. So we'll just use Michael or Nathan, for example. So Michael Beard, amazing sweep single from an over tie, amazing ankle picks, great outside step to the left leg high crotch. We know these are going to work against, Michael will tech anybody, who's outside the top 10. That's what he does. So against those guys, instead of, going over collar single, hey, Michael, let's get our hand inside and let's start working, offenses off those skills. Or, thinking about somebody we might wrestle in the postseason semifinals. Hey, we're going to stop doing this, so this can't happen for that guy to have success. Those skills are developed through the year. So, maybe Michael has taken, a couple picks or a couple singles, and between whistles, hey, Mike, let's stop doing those offense. We know they work. Let's get our left hand inside and create offensive opportunity to develop that skill. Now, when we get to the postseason, he has that in his bag if he needs that. Let's say somebody shuts down his over collar single. Now he's developed another way to get to a score, to get his hand inside and then find a different offensive attack. But that's been developed over a year.
I like that. I like that. That makes all the sense in the world for me. Another athlete that you've had a tremendous impact is Jordan Wood. And what do you say? What do you say to Jordan that's different than Michael? Because they come to the table with a different skill set.
Sure, absolutely. Just being like self-aware, and just understanding my own growth as a coach. I'm a much better coach now than I was with Jordan Wood. So if I could have gone back, it could have been less trying to get them all jacked up and, ready to fight versus a mentality that allows you to think and allows me to communicate to help him win matches better. But for Jordan, we went out there and battled. When Jordan Wood took third at nationals, that bracket might be the best heavyweight bracket you ever see.
Period. Bar none.
And so like Jordan taking third at that tournament is probably, obviously I have a national title, but him taking third might have been harder than me winning nationals in those comparable years. But for Jordan, Jordan's my brother, still is. But for him, I was just there for him for whatever he needed. Jordan was much more offensive, capable wrestler than I was. So is me reminding him what he's good at, just making him feel confident and having him ready for those battles. Every athlete's different with their mentality that they go out for, and they need different things from you when you're out there. And that's one area that I think I've grown the most as a coach recently, to be able to stay calm in the corner and, give off the energy that I hope they can stay calm, so that when we make eye contact, we can have a clear conversation in a very short time between whistles to help them win the match.
Coach, I got to tell you something. As a lifelong goal of mine, it is to have you mic'd up in a corner, because people don't know that you're one of the funniest sons of bitches in a corner that anyone has ever heard.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to be mic'd up. I'd say some stuff that might get me in trouble. That Lehigh.
I might just stick a mic underneath your chair one time, and I'll send it to you. I won't put it out into the universe.
Yeah.
But
no, yeah, you can check with me, and if it's like PG-13, we can send it out.
And again, I'm more speaking to Joel Shaw and the folks that are listening to this right now, but one of the funniest people in the world. And how about this? I'll take it a step further. I won't even do it when you're wearing a Lehigh University shirt or polo. I will do it when you're wearing a Team Pennsylvania polo.
Sure.
At Fargo, because it is it is pure comedy.
Those matches might pull more of that out of me. Sure. Because although I do love my PA boys that I get to work with over Fargo, I might not take such offense to horrible calls.
Right. He's on a ref better than anybody I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
So let's talk about refs for a second.
Sure.
How do we fix some of the things that you see issues with? Let's start with the NCAA.
Yep.
Is there a quick fix? Is there an easy way to fix this?
I think that some points could be made in the refs meetings before tournaments start to remind them of things that can be as simple as, hey, that's a normal takedown. You don't have to do the danger rule. And just remind them. And that could be as simple as this, because the refs even responded to some of the fans reaching out. But when we add these new rules and refs, don't have the easiest time adjusting, I mean, they're human, unfortunately. Sure. And
for now,
to remind them that a normal takedown can still just be called a takedown. And it doesn't have to be a danger count. It could just be, oh, that's 3 points. But when you have, all these fans yelling, it's loud, you're hot and sweaty, and sometimes refs aren't really supposed to get into, the roller coaster of the match, but it's, human error.
Yeah.
Can we fix it? No, but hopefully at nationals, when you call back to whoever is back there reviewing them, we get them more right than wrong.
So that's the other thing to me. The fact that they still review their own calls, that not enough. It's just bananas to me. And I've said it on other podcasts. I'll say it again. It's like telling a middle school kid to grade their own test. They're always going to get an A.
Yeah. I'd like to think that I've been really just like chopping apart my ego and trying to lose that part of me, so that when I am wrong, I can admit that.
Sure.
I've grown big in that area. But you put me out in front of a crowd of a couple thousand people, I don't know how I'm going to respond to it.
For sure. No, look, I get it, Zach. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But the first thing that has to be in every one of our minds is, let's do what's right. Forget about who called what. It doesn't matter. We got to get it right. I'm also seeing more instances that cement the concept of a hard out of bounds step out rule that would be beneficial. Now, do you see that ever happening at an NCAA level?
I mean, we're one step before it happens,
Yeah.
We've made very clear, if you back out of bounds, boom. So we're getting closer to freestyle push out rule. I don't know exactly the cost on bringing a third referee to a dual meet. It's probably $400, something like that. Because, in freestyle, when we challenge at the Open or the World Team Trials, it gets shot over to, Sam Julian, and then he weighs in. But then sometimes we don't always love his call. But
he's not married to it.
Sure.
Do you see what I'm saying? He didn't make that call.
Having a non-emotional, bias, absolutely. So maybe just, schools required to spend an extra $250 to have a third ref come in. That doesn't get to just sit around with his buddies and talk to him to, review it. He reviews it by himself, and we move on. It could be.
Can I? And this is a genuine question. I'm not being in any way glib about it. Why do we have two officials at a dual meet right now?
I honestly think the only time where that other ref comes into play is when a lock hands is on the opposite side of where the ref can see it. That's the only time where they get involved. Or if you had watched national preps, a overtime ride out situation, they went through the whole 30 seconds. And then after, a coach complained, rightfully so. And the side judge went up to the main ref and said, hey, he did caution. Then they made the kid do the whole ride out again.
Huh.
But besides those, that instance.
That's a very specific instance.
Very specific. A ref just calling locked hands, I suppose.
Okay. That seems like very fixable with the camera.
Yeah, because I mean, he can't call stalling. I guess in times of where they get together, he's allowed to share his opinion if he thought it was a takedown.
Of course, he's going to share his opinion. But that makes all the sense in the world to me.
But he can, we're on the same page.
Okay.
So the whole thing with reviews seems like a sham right now. Like we're doing this because it's important, but I can't think of a single time that they've actually changed a call on video review. And
It
it's
does
gotten to
happen, but it's very rare.
it's
It's
gotten to a point almost where you look at it and you're like, why are we even reviewing this? They're just gonna leave it as it is anyways.
Um,
yeah.
I I I have a little bit. I've had some better challenges than apparently you've seen. Uh, I've had a fair amount of success with challenges. Um, they actually changed one of the rules at NCAA's. Like, so last year, Michael Beard at Nationals was wrestling younger Bastida, and Bastida got a takedown, but when they called it, it wasn't a takedown. And so just using that like little, right up
Okay.
of the rule challenge, just because of the rule. And then they changed it this year to where you wrestle through the whole position and they review the whole situation. But those are like the fine print that you read. That's like the challenges that I really focus on, to where like knowing that it's a hard, like yes or no. Because when you're challenging, the ref's opinion, then it's
Good luck.
likely to lose. But when you can challenge and you walk up and go, hey, this is what I saw happen, this is the rule, please review that. I think we've had a little bit of success in those situations. But like
That's
out of
good
Arizona
point.
State, when Malik Hines is wrestling, their stud 41 pounder, we challenge. Oh, the video review's not working right now. Now you both lost challenges. Come on, man. Get your camera working. That's just a frustration. I just need.
No, it's not. It's not. But how about
Oh,
me as a frustrated fan when I watch Rutgers at Penn State and they got 14,000 in rec hall and they don't have a review? Like you don't have a review? Come on, man. Like that's a tough go. And like,
yeah.
it's a tough look, number one. But also, like, as a Jersey guy, I'm sitting there going, look, Rutgers is sneaking two of these, maybe. You're going to tell me that, you can't review the one match that they could win? Come on, man. So, yeah, it was tricky. And I think you're right, Joel. It does seem like we're just going through the motions to placate most of the wrestling fan base that knows that we should have the capability to have some type of review process, but it ain't even close to there yet.
Yeah. We need multiple
So
angles, multiple cameras with, slow-mo review. But sometimes we just can't even get the camera on.
yeah.
So, but baby steps, and hopefully we're able to make progress on this frustrating situation next year.
Yeah. Okay. I want it. There's like so many different things that I have written down here. Cash flow positive. That's not easy to do in today's climate. What does that do? Does that help your thoughts, your inkling towards NIL? Does it do anything to your thoughts? Like being a funding a program that is not just funding itself for the year, it is also funding other sports in the school in some way, shape, or form. Do you go, well, look, we have this income that's coming in. We may or may not be losing kids to NIL deals because, like you said, high school wrestling in Eastern PA, I mean, it is the hotbed, if not Western PA.
Absolutely.
But like, let's call it what it is, man. There are teams out there that's shelling out cash.
Yep.
It's hard.
Absolutely. So to your comment, cash flow positive related to NIL, I just think we're fortunate to where we have the support, donors, and a tradition to where we have people wanting to support Lehigh wrestling, athletes. Now, whether or not our administration loves NIL or whatnot, that's what it is. But for us to have so many donors around, and businesses who love to support Lehigh wrestling, and them want to reach out. It's nice. And so Pat Santoro, head coach, boss man, he doesn't do anything shady, sketchy. He does everything by the book. So until the right things are in place, we don't move forward. But fortunately, just in these past couple months, our company, or a company that we will be working with to help NIL, has been finished. So that's very exciting, because, you know, when you have these, you know, great hospital networks that we work with and all these companies around us willing to sponsor or partner with an athlete, it's going to be big time helpful. Because like you've said, in the past couple of years, we've had a couple of recruits say, well, we have X amount from this school. And sometimes they're focused on the wrong aspects of life, in my opinion. If they're taking that to go to a lesser school, lesser education, good for them. But now that, you know, we've got this in place, very excited about, you know, the money available.
Yeah, that's a game changer. Because if you take the $80,000 line item off the tape, or at least lessen it significantly,
Absolutely,
the playing field becomes extremely level, and that's bad news for a lot of teams in the AIWA.
it is. And even, you know, sometimes, you know, the elite athlete getting a couple bucks in his pocket, or if we're just able to get back or create the same of another scholarship, you know, just to make school affordable for another kid. By no means are we going to be, you know, those one or two big dogs writing ridiculous checks that some of these high school athletes are getting, making more than some head coaches in our sport. We're not at school, but where we are is, you know, where you can partner with companies in the area where you're being taken care of.
I'm gonna speak for you right now. You don't have to. So what everyone listening to this has to know is there are teams like I don't know, Michigan, I've heard, that are just writing checks to athletes. Now, here's the thing. It's supply and demand in my estimation. Okay. This COVID year, giving everyone a sixth year, has driven the price up like tremendously, because most kids have graduated and they still have eligibility left. So there is that. So I think what's going on is, and I'm not throwing Michigan under the bus. Let's be completely honest. If I had the checkbook to sign, I would. Okay. That said, though, I think what we're going to see, and I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later, is I think that not only is the price of these free agent portal athletes going to go down, but I also think the way that NIL was supposed to be used, right? Which is local businesses, a hotel, a hospital system, a local car dealership can pay athletes to use their name, image, and likeness in their advertisements, and not just write them a check just to write them a check. I think we're going to see name, image, and likeness in those regards far more important, number one, but also profitable for these athletes, because that's the way it was supposed to be done over the course of 4 or 5 years for these athletes. So while I know you can't say a lot of that stuff, it's easier for me to say that as an outsider. And I think we're going to see the bar level off. Am I crazy for thinking that?
No, that's definitely one of the possible outcomes that could come from our sport, you know, adapting to, you know, the NIL. But yeah, I mean, it's one thing to hope or complain. I'm not saying you are. For me, it's just we have to do the most with what we have, and it is what it is. I mean, complaining and hoping will only get you so far. So we make the most of what we got.
I think it's also really interesting to point out that lots of times the conversation around NIL is just around those that are abusing the system, right? But it also doesn't really take into the fact that not every college and university costs the same to go to. And in some instances, you know, an NIL option is really the only way to get around the fact that like $80,000 a year is a lot of money, and that's already going to shrink your pool of what's possible. You know, if when you're competing against schools that, you know, I don't know what tuition is on average for, you know, like an in-state university, but I imagine it's not anywhere close to, you know, $80,000. That might be your entire 4 or 5 years, right?
Absolutely. I mean, yes, like Rutgers, Maryland, you know, those some Big Ten schools, I think in-state tuition somewhere around like 20, 25,
23. Yeah.
sometimes a little bit lower. But then you hit the privates, you know, you have the Ivy League schools, you know, Stanford, Duke, Northwestern, Lehigh, Bucknell, you know, they're, you know, 85K. But, you know, you leave sometimes with a much better education. There's, you know, infinity variables, but yeah, it's for a guy going to a state school with a fat NIL, it's like, man, that kid should invest that money, because then, you know, he come out of school with a rental property.
Yeah.
You know,
More or a couple. Sure. Some of these deals you're hearing about, you can get a couple of rental properties.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're running out of time. I need to go back to progress mindset over the course of the season.
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm hearing high level coaches talk about on a far more consistent basis than I ever had when I was a kid, obviously. But and this is just to date myself for a second, because I remember coaching with you when you were in Fargo. Joel made mention before you jumped on the call that he was a child watching you win your NCAA title, and that just made me feel infinitely older. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that was never a thing when I was a kid.
Yep.
Progress mindset. It wasn't. It was W's, it was losses, it was work your tail off, and that was it.
100%. 100%.
And I don't know that it was your mindset as you were coming up through the sport.
It's happened like last week. No, there's like no.
I was being kind to you,
Yeah,
Zach.
absolutely not. Absolutely. I mean, for me, wrestling, until recently, you know, last couple of years or whatnot, you know, and for me, unfortunately, my whole career as a wrestler, I was only looking to win, whether it be practice or a match. So unfortunately, I never really developed skills as you know, I could have. And that could have potentially limited my success or fun, more importantly, as a wrestler. And being able to look back at my career and talk about it, and talk to my athletes about it, for them to see the bigger picture. Not only are you going out there with a better mindset, you have more fun. And at the end of the day, this is a sport where it's two guys in like a rubber suit trying to tackle each other. And to go out there with all these restrictions because of you're just trying to win, and that's what's most important, it's unfortunate. And, you know, you've seen a lot of guys just having fun more often now than back then. You know, wrestling 10, 20 years ago, it was two guys scrapping, you know, not too much fun. But more often now we're seeing guys having a lot of fun wrestling. And I've really tried making a change to having these guys have more fun, learn wrestling, get better at wrestling. Don't wrestle, you know, with fear of losing. Wrestle to, you know, your best effort, your best attitude, learn some stuff, and you're gonna have some fun while you're doing it.
And we're ironically, and it is ironic, it is counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are having the most success.
100%.
They just are. They
100%.
just are.
And you know, there's levels and tiers of fun, success, and, you know, obviously when you are the absolute best athlete or the strongest athlete, then you're trying to have fun, you're going to have a lot of success. But you're 100% right. There's tiers and stuff, but right now we're seeing a lot more people have fun, and wrestling is, you know, the best it's ever been.
For sure. And for people that don't know what, like, you can tell there's a gravity to your voice when you talk about the way that you wrestle and perform. Because yeah, you do have an NCAA title. Yeah, world team. Yeah, that's great. All that stuff is great. But I would suggest the same thing, and I think you'd agree with me, is that you had a style that was just, you shut everyone down. Like there was no way to get to your legs. There was just no way to get past.
Including myself, unfortunately. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I say that, and I don't mean it like as disparaging at all. I think people don't realize what an incredible, a purebred athlete you are. Full, as 260 something pounds, you can do a full layout. And people don't realize that that stuff is not easy for anyone to do. And to shackle that with like this mentality of, I'm just going to win this position. That's tough, man. That is really tough.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I'm happy that I can look back and help others grow through it, as corny as that sounds. But I mean, I had my success, and I sometimes end that conversation. Maybe if I went out there more relaxed and tried doing more moves, I actually would have lost more. So who knows? So many variables, but I would have been having more fun, and that's a fact. But again, I'm very happy with my success, and I don't regret. I don't look back on a match and ever like lose sleep over it. I'm a very happy person. But I am happy that I can use my mentality through my competitive years to help others not stress as much as I did.
Awesome. All right, here we go. I hate saying that. It's so corny. All right. Quick questions before we go. Number one, Zach Rey, what is the best wrestling shoe ever?
I like the Roulons.
Really? Yeah. I think we've had that a bunch, dude. I think between that and aggressors, right? We've had that a bunch.
I wanted Roulons, and I love that shoe.
Yeah, that's a great shoe. There's a pair in my truck, another aggressors, but you get the point. Like there is a pair of aggressors sitting in my truck right now, waiting to go to practice. All right, here we go. You have a magic wand.
Yeah.
You can change one thing about the sport of wrestling. What is it?
Shoot, man, that's one thing about the sport of wrestling. Oh, I'm just gonna go simple to not make it too crazy. Headgear's optional. Boom. Next question.
What are we doing? It's such nonsense.
So stupid. Like our ears are getting just as beat up with the headgear as like, just let me not wear this.
I've gotten worse cauliflower with headgear on. It's brutal.
Headgear optional. Boom. I win.
There we go. Easy money. Okay. Last one. This one shouldn't be as easy.
Cool.
4 only, Americans only. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling?
So Mount Rushmore, you have to put. We're gonna start with Kale, but he might get taken off. Let me just start there.
Okay, we'll start there. That's fine. That's fine.
There, but he could be removed. He's probably gonna stay up there. And then we're considering their whole body of work with college.
Yeah, you got. See, that's the whole thing. Right, as a coach, as an athlete, impact on the sport, everything's included.
Okay, so then Jordan Burroughs has to be on there. He absolutely has to be on there. So 2 more. I kind of do this thing to where after a certain year, I give less respect for success, because I think as the years go on, everybody gets better. And so with that being said, I'm going to put my good friend David Taylor on that list, because I think he's absolutely amazing at the sport. And David has just like showed us how much better you can get, bro, even this late.
Bro, he's getting better after his Olympic gold medal.
He's
I don't know. I can't say one other person that goes, oh, he's better after 3 world titles and an Olympic gold medal. I don't know one person.
Yeah, I personally I can't. And then I mean, it's close. I have a lot of friends who are still competing, and I'm super biased to the heavyweight weight class. So, Gable Stevenson, he did something really cool, getting 2 takedowns, but no, too short of a career. The Bruce Baumgartner, 4-time Olympic medal, 2 gold. He was like a monster, but I'm gonna do like the too old, not like cool enough thing. I'll probably just go back to six for six. Was it 6 for 6? John Smith? Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
6 for 6.
It's hard, and he was so dynamic and exciting and offensive and good in every position. We could do this for a long time, but I think I'm safe with those 4. But it's
Okay, so Kale, JB.
It's so boring. It's
not. That's the whole thing. So I don't think what you realize is just by you mentioning the other athletes that didn't make the list, that's what makes it engaging to everyone else, because you're bringing up something like Baumgartner, whom I think most people your age might know, and certainly my age know.
The next generation doesn't know.
But I don't know that the next generation does.
No,
dude.
he was double-legging everybody for like 2 decades. He was a dog.
For
Absolute
2
dog.
decades.
Yeah, and I would go work out with him when he was 20 years retired at Edinburgh heavyweight camps, and he would still just throw me around. So
Yeah.
he was an absolute monster, and he deserves to be mentioned when a conversation Mount Rushmore of U.S. athletes.
Yeah.
But I mean,
That's a pretty solid list, though, Zach Rey. That's a pretty solid list. Okay, what else, Joel? You got anything before we go?
No, that was all good. Zach hit our top 3 on the Mount Rushmore, and David Taylor, that's going to be our first mention up there.
Is it really?
First time.
You guys got the wrong guys. David Taylor's up there. The Magic Man, the cow farmer. David Taylor's the man. He's the best.
Awesome. Zach Rey, thank you so much for coming on, man. We appreciate you having us, or having the time to jump on and talk a little bit about Lehigh Wrestling and some of your coaching stuff.
Absolutely. Joel, get me your sizes. And the next time we get our new gear, you guys will get a shipment of Lehigh gear.
You
Let's
are the
go.
best, sir. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one. See you guys. Thank you.
Welcome to the Athletor Podcast. What do you want to know with the top guest? Right now with the project. What you want to know, man? What you want to know? Welcome to the Athletor Podcast. What do you want to know with the top guest? Right now with the project. What you want to know, man? Welcome to the show.